Hello everyone, it's FineSeti, and today you might have been asking yourself, well, how much of a cryptocurrency coin do I actually need in order to retire? Well, we're going to go through all of that with Cardano, and you can pretty much replace it for any other coin, Cardano, BNB, just plug in whatever numbers are applicable to you. So let's get right into it. So the first question is, well, how much money do you actually need to make every single year in order to retire comfortably? Well, for that we can look at the FIRE movement. This is a movement called Financial Independence Retire Early, and these guys have done all kinds of calculations, but basically they take the 7% gains of the S&P 500 and they decide, all right, you can draw down 4% from this every single year. And the reason why you only want to draw down 4% and not the whole 7% is that you need to leave that 3% in the fund in order to combat inflation, right? So every year your money would still be growing at 3% and you can take the remaining 4% out for living costs. So now that you understand the basics of the calculation, let me show you what those numbers look like. So if you want to retire with 48,000 US dollars every year in income, you would need to save up $1.2 million. And if you want to retire with 108,000, well, you would need to save up $2.7 million. If you want to retire with 240,000, you need a massive 6 million US dollars if every year you take about 4% so that this can ride up with the remaining 3% to combat inflation. Now, that said, well, you might have seen the ADA prices on the right side of that. And if you didn't, just scroll back a little bit and you can read it. But the reason why I'm not going to go over those prices is because, well, you're leaving a lot of things out right now. Those are the prices if you want to retire like tomorrow, because currently you can get just 7% by staking your Cardano. So let me show you that on Binance. So if you go to Binance Staking, which you should definitely check out my video about that if you haven't, you see here that you can put your money for 15, 30, 60, or 90-day pools, and depending on which pool you're in, if you stay there for a whole year, you would get 22% after the year, you would get 5% after the year, 7.8% after the year, or 9.3% after the year. So here you have kind of a fixed income without even relying on the asset going up in price. So let's just say that approximately, for conversation's sake, because now I'm going to start to make some assumptions to reach the final figures, you're making something like, I don't know, let's say 7% every year from the staking. So now that we have the staking rewards for Cardano, well, remember how I said, well, you need to leave 3% in to combat the inflation every year? Well, Cardano has a finite supply. So if you have a finite supply of something, it's actually not inflationary, it's deflationary. So if we just use the same rate and flip it around and say, well, every year the actual worth of your Cardano should increase by 3%, you know, the exact opposite of inflation, well, that means that actually you need 3% less every year. So let's get all the ducks in the row before I just show you the new updated table. We have, first of all, our inflation slash, in this case, deflation rate of 3% every year. And from staking, so basically the investment gains, we're going to be getting 7%. So that means that every year you can take out 10% from your portfolio without decreasing the purchasing power of the remaining amount. That's the key part here. Every single year, you want to take out just enough to make sure that next year you have exactly the same amount of purchasing power. So remember, every year you can take out 10% and 7 of that is going to come from staking. So it gives us a total drawdown of like 10% every year. So let me show you what that looks like in the table and what price you actually need to retire at these levels. Let me show you what the numbers look like if you want to retire now, if you want to retire in 10 years, 20 years, and we'll do 40 years as well. So let's have a look. So starting with about $10,000 with 3% annual inflation, which means deflation for Cardano, and with approximately 7% annual staking rewards, you can take out 10% every year. That means that if you save up only 480,000, you can take out 48,000 every single year. And to do that, you would need a Cardano price of $58. Now, if we go to the 100,000, you see that you would need about $130. Sorry, my wrist is really shaky. You would need $130. And if you go down to the 240,000 you want to retire with, well, your Cardano would need to increase to about $288. Now, you see now that when you actually factor in all of these things, you don't need $144 to retire. You need $58 per Cardano to retire. But now let's go further and see what happens within 10 years. So assuming no change in the crypto price at all and just the 7% annual staking rewards, in 10 years you would have 16,393 Cardano. In 20 years, 32,247, and in 40 years, 124,787 Cardanos. And look at what these amounts do to what Cardano increase in price you need. So we start off with, if you want to retire right now, you need $58 per Cardano. Well, if you wait 10 years, you would just need $29 per Cardano. If you were to wait 20 years, well, then you would need $15 per Cardano. And after 40 years, you need only $4 per Cardano. But this is $2,021. Obviously, in 40 years, you shouldn't be calculating in 2021 dollars. You have to calculate in 2061 dollars. So let me go ahead and change these to reflect the inflation rate, and you'll see the amount of dollars corresponding to the increase in the number of years. And basically, I'm just going to tag on the inflation rate of 3%, which is high. The actual inflation rate is like closer to 2%. So we're using 3 as a very conservative figure. And I'm going to update these so that you see, well, within 20 years, what does my dollar figure need to be in that 20-year period? So guys, are you ready for the final answer for if you start today with $10,000 and you want to retire now in 10, 20, or 40 years, exactly how much you would need to have in your bank account of Cardano and what the Cardano price needs to be? Well, I'm going to show you that right now, as long as you smash up that like button. So let me show you right now. Thanks for smashing that button. So as always, if you want to retire right now, well, Cardano needs to increase to $58. Remember, I'm assuming you're starting with about $10,000. In 10 years, you see here that the expenses column has changed to adjust for inflation, but also the total amount you need to have saved up in US dollars has been adjusted for inflation too. Well, in 10 years, you would need a price of $39 per Cardano. This is assisted by inflation. In 20 years, you need only $27 per Cardano, and in 40 years, you need only $13 per Cardano in order to retire in 2060 terms. So guys, as you can see, if you have a very long-term vision and you have a lot of life left in you, well, you only need Cardano to go up by just over 10x throughout your entire life. And this is like, you know, you're probably just going to get there with inflation, to be honest. I think purely with inflation, you have like a 6x within 40 years. So then you only need like Cardano to do a little bit better than it currently is, and you're already there. You're already ready to retire. However, then if you have a shorter time horizon, let's say 10 years, well, then you would need to go up to $39 for you to retire within that time. Now, that would be approximately a 32.5x from now, which is quite high. But you know, if crypto does continue to grow at like, I forget what the rate is, but it's something like 100% every single year, well, you're going to hit that 32.5 rate pretty quickly. So guys, if you want a link to the calculator, I'm going to leave it down below so you guys can adjust the starting capital if you want. And if you want to see just for fun, I can just change it right now to like $1,000 and just show you what happens then. And I'm just going to put it on the screen here. So that's going to be the outro for the video. I'll put it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you learned something and you got smarter today and you think this is valuable content, please, and if you have any suggestions, do leave them in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want more content from me, make sure to smash up that subscribe button, and I'm going to keep these coming. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.